Becky Lynch just went off on Ronda Rousey in this video. I'm going to tell you exactly what she had to say because these two have a lot of history together, right? It was a dream match in WWE that we just never got. It was a match that both women really, really wanted. It was a match that the fans were desperate to see, but unfortunately that match never happened. And based off of the recent comments made by Ronda Rousey, that match is never going to happen, which is truly a shame because in 2018, WWE was on a collision course between having Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch fire up and do a match with each other at Survivor Series that year. Of course, this came at a time where Ronda was having a sensational run with the company in her first tenure. She was on fire. She was a Raw Women's Champion. She was one of the top stars in the entire company and one of the hottest stars in the company as well. It also comes at a time where Becky Lynch was making her rise in the company and getting over major. The fans, despite the fact that Vince McMahon tried to book her as a heel, the fans turned her babyface. They rallied behind her and really changed the course of history and changed Becky Lynch's career and life from then on out. Nia Jax then broke Becky Lynch's orbital bone, nixing the planned match, the only planned singles match between Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch at Survivor Series that year, resulting in Charlotte Flair taking Lynch's place and wrestling Ronda in a singles match. Fast forward, as we all know, WrestleMania 2019, Raw Women's Championship, SmackDown Women's Championship, Triple Threat, Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch headline WrestleMania, making history in the course. When Ronda came back during her second run with the company, she wanted to do the Becky Lynch match. Becky Lynch wanted to do that match. Ronda has said in an interview with, I believe it was Cage Side Seats, where she, at the end of her second WB tenure, so we're talking early 2022, when Vince McMahon was still in charge of main roster creative, she went to them and said, look, my contract expires in the summer. I still want to do the Becky Lynch match. You promised me we would do it at WrestleMania, meaning WrestleMania 39, after returning the previous year. She was told no. She said, okay, fine. You want to settle with, mediocrity. That was something that she criticized Vince McMahon for and her run with the company of they were just willing to do what was good enough instead of trying to do something great, to the point where in one of her last conversations she had with Triple H, who then took over main roster creative in the summer of 2022, that, I can't be associated with mediocrity. And so it's like, okay. Obviously creative is subjective, right? Everyone likes different things. So she's like, screw it. Put me a tag team with Shayna. Then let's do the Shayna feud. She'll put over her best friend on her way out. She did so at SummerSlam 2023 in the MMA rules match, and off to the races. She departed the company. She's ripped the company, but we'll get into that in a minute. Now, Becky Lynch was on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani and was asked about Ronda Rousey, who obviously has been very vocal about her time at WWE and Vince McMahon. There have been a lot of people that are critics of Ronda who have said that she simply wasn't a good wrestler, and that's why the fans turned on her midway through her first WWE run. Lynch agreed that Rousey was never a good wrestler, but also believes that Rousey was simply mishandled after her first match with the company at WrestleMania 34. One of the best in-ring debut matches you'll ever see, when she teamed up with Kurt Angle to take on Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. Lynch had this to say: I don't think anybody was trying to make anybody fail. Nobody's trying to make anybody fail. I think that when you love this, you look to try and make it better. How can I make this better? She was coming from a different industry. She was a star. She should have been handled differently in terms of, I think she had a great first outing that everybody thought she can wrestle. I mean, this with all respect, but she couldn't wrestle. what we do isn't something that you can have one good match and then, okay, yeah, I'm off to the races. It's a craft, and you have to learn your craft, and you have to delegate about learning your craft. Everybody treated Ronda like she already knew it because she first came in with a good in that first bout. I don't know what she was trying to say there. Lynch continued, but she was also working with Kurt Angle. She was working with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. It was a well-rehearsed match because everybody wanted her to succeed. It was like, okay, she can do this, off to the races. That was a mishandling of her because she was a star in her own right, and she did so much for MMA. In terms of that booking, that wasn't well done. Now, Lynch also said that Rousey found something that she enjoyed but never sought to do it from a young age. Keep in mind, Ronda was raised in a judo background, then she transitioned into MMA, where she was crushing a lot of talented but not elite fighters in Strikeforce and in the UFC, aside from Miesha Tate. Miesha Tate was and still is a legitimate good to great fighter. She is a great fighter, but she couldn't beat Rousey. For whatever reason, Rousey just had her name, right? Had her number. And so it's like, okay, well, she can't get past her. Do I think, look, I agree with a lot of what Becky said. Aside from, I think she was a good wrestler, I don't think she was a great wrestler. The problem with Ronda was, I agree with the fact that she had a great first match, right? I said that. I agree with the fact that they rehearsed it and they had her in the ring with top stars that had a wealth of knowledge. But I think that there was such a big difference in her presentation in her second run. And I don't know if it was all booking. I think it was a lot of Ronda, because when she left after WrestleMania 35, even in the build-up towards then, she was still that, bad A Ronda Rousey. And even as a heel, she was doing some of the best work of her career during that heel run. She floundered kind of as a babyface, but as a heel, she was amazing. And then what she was doing on social and in promos and etc., like the build-up to that triple threat was awesome. But then she came back and she talked about at the time in one of her vlogs that, she had a child the year before and she was still trying to get into ring shape and she didn't have much confidence and she had to change up her ring gear because she didn't feel confident enough. And then slowly but surely things she tried to get back to her initial character in that first run, but it never felt like she was fully bought in. And I think when a talent is not fully bought into a character, a storyline, a match, a feud, whatever it is, fans, they can see it, they can smell it, they can understand it, and they don't buy into it. So unless you buy into it, unless you put your full effort into it, unless you're fully behind it, fans will not do the same, all right? It's a take and give thing. It's no different from when you attend a live event where if the fans don't believe what you're doing in the ring, then they won't cheer, they won't boo, they won't clap, they won't make noise. It is your job as a wrestler to get them, you have to draw them in by whatever you're doing, and then they will give you back what you need, right? But if you don't give that to them in the first place, they're simply not going to do what you need them to do. And the match suffers, or the feud suffers, or the promo suffers, right? You need that drawability, and I think Ronda Rousey, she simply lacked that.